how would someone find someone to mentor internationally, and would someone be ready to mentor right after residency?
Yeah, that's a good question. And yeah, there's one thing I forgot to mention. One of the very best ways that you can find mentors is to go to the Academy and ASCRS meetings, and there's also a couple other just specifically global meetings, but both at Academy and at ASCRS, just in the last few years, they've started doing a lot more global programming. So when you go to those meetings and you look in the directory, there will actually be, global ophthalmology offerings. And that's, really how I came in contact with Stan a few years ago. I met Brad Feldman, who was then the chair of the Young Ophthalmologists International Committee, and he put me in touch with Stan because he knew Stan was interested in starting a young ophthalmologist program. And Roger mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, YO2Go is that program that Stan and Anya and a few others and I started a few years ago as a resource for people who are interested in global ophthalmology. So yo2go.org is great. But I'd encourage you to go to those meetings, go to the global offerings, talk to the panelists. I went to several of these meetings when I was a resident, and I still am friends with and have connections with and have greatly benefited from the relationships that I've made just going to those meetings and just casually chatting with people and making a few connections. The other meeting I was going to mention, I think they're still doing it, but every other year the KCI Institute puts on a global ophthalmology conference in Portland, and it's phenomenal. Aside from the global ophthalmology, they usually mix in some amazing Portland food and outdoor activities and things like that. But that is actually where I met and really interacted with Matt Oliva for the first time. And like I mentioned, Matt's one of the board of director. He's on the board of directors for the Himalayan Cataract Project, and one that I've worked extensively with this year. And I'll be joining in practice in Oregon. But we met at that KCI conference in 2012, and it was kind of interesting. I hadn't been invited to speak. Nobody there probably even knew who I was. I was just a resident at Ohio State on the other side of the country, but I had wanted to just make a pitch for YO2Go at this conference, and so I emailed Dr. Now I'm going to forget his name. I emailed the organizer and just kind of begged for 5 minutes to pitch YO2Go and explain what it's all about. And so then
was that Devin Gaddy?
Yeah, Devin. Yeah, Devin Gaddy. So they were kind enough to oblige, and so I was able to tell Ohio State, hey, I got accepted for a presentation at this meeting, and Ohio State, funded me to go there, and I met Matt, and we talked about me coming out there, and one thing led to another. But that's the type of thing that can happen when you get involved at these meetings. And so I'd encourage you to kind of reach out and try to get to some of these meetings and make some connections.